swimming here. Hey, Jane!
This lake is mine.
Mine!
The lake had been in my family for generations. It wasn't just a body of water, it was the centerpiece of the property, surrounded by thick pines and rolling hills that stretched far past what the eye could see. I grew up swimming in it every summer, skating across it in the winters, and casting lines with my father in the spring. It wasn't just private property. It was ours, in every legal sense of the word. But when I retired and moved back to the lakeside cabin, things had changed. A sprawling neighborhood had grown nearby, governed by an overzealous HOA. Its president, a woman everyone referred to simply as Karen, had a reputation that preceded her. She was the type who patrolled the streets with a clipboard, looking for lawns mowed a half-inch too high or mailboxes a shade off from regulation gray. Her obsession with control was legendary, and unfortunately, she had fixed her eyes on me. It all started when I decided to take an evening swim. The sun was setting, the lake was glassy, and for the first time in years, I felt at peace. That moment didn't last long. A day later, I found an envelope pinned to my gate. It was an official notice from the HOA. According to them, I had been swimming illegally in a community lake and was being fined $1,000. I almost laughed at the absurdity of it. The so-called community lake was mine. It was on my deed, my grandfather's before me, and registered with the county records. The HOA had no jurisdiction over my land, no authority to dictate what I could or couldn't do in water I owned outright. But Karen didn't care about facts. She cared about control. When I called her out, she doubled down. She sent follow-up letters claiming my swimming was a nuisance to the neighborhood. She threatened escalating fines, legal action, and even hinted at involving law enforcement. Neighbors whispered about her vendetta, but no one dared confront her. Karen ruled the HOA with an iron fist, and those who challenged her usually paid the price. But I wasn't just another homeowner stuck under her thumb. What Karen didn't know was that years earlier, I had acquired something far more powerful than she could imagine. When the developers carved up the land to build the neighborhood, they had signed over a long-term easement agreement to my family in exchange for access to the lake's water supply. Buried in that paperwork was a clause that gave me not only water rights but also the power to impose maintenance fees on the HOA for using my property. Fees that, legally, I had the right to adjust at any time. So when Karen slapped me with a $1,000 fine for swimming in my own lake, I knew exactly what I had to do. I pulled out the old agreement, dusted it off, and contacted my attorney. Together, we drafted a notice to the HOA board. Effective immediately, their annual maintenance fees for lake access would increase by $5,000 per household. The reaction was immediate. Karen stormed onto my driveway, waving papers and shouting threats. She claimed I was extorting the neighborhood, that my actions were illegal, and that she would have me shut down. But when she brought it before the board, my attorney and I were waiting with the original signed documents. Every detail was ironclad, every clause enforceable. The board was stunned. They had no idea such a clause even existed. Karen tried to dismiss it as outdated, but the county clerk's records proved otherwise. Her threats fizzled when faced with undeniable legal proof. And as the board members realized the consequences, the tide turned against her. One by one, homeowners began demanding answers. Why had they been told the lake was community property when it clearly wasn't? Why had Karen pushed fines and restrictions without verifying authority? And why were they suddenly on the hook for thousands of dollars more because of her reckless actions? Karen's iron grip on the HOA began to crack. People who once cowered under her scrutiny now saw her as a liability. She was no longer the enforcer protecting the neighborhood, she was the reason their costs were skyrocketing. Meanwhile, I carried on as I always had. I swam in the lake whenever I pleased. I fished off the dock, invited friends over for barbecues by the water, and made it a point to wave at Karen whenever she passed by, seething from her car. She tried a few more times to rally support against me, but her credibility was gone. The board stopped backing her, the neighbors stopped listening, and soon enough, she was forced to step down as president. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. She had fined me $1,000 for swimming in my own lake, and in return, I had legally raised the HOA's fees by $5,000. What she intended as a punishment became the very thing that ruined her standing. Looking back, I realized Karen's downfall wasn't really about the money. It was about power. She thought she could bully me the way she bullied everyone else, that her rules applied even beyond her borders. But some people can't be pushed around. Some people know their rights and have the backbone to defend them. And when someone like Karen crosses that line, the consequences can be devastating. Now, the lake is quieter. The HOA no longer tries to enforce phantom rules on my property. Karen keeps her distance, her once proud reign reduced to whispered gossip at neighborhood gatherings. And me? I keep enjoying the same lake I always have, with one small difference. Every time I dive into the water, I think about the look on her face when she realized she had overplayed her hand. That $1,000 fine cost her everything. And all it earned me was the sweetest swim of my life. Do like subscribe for more.